Hello friends, myself Disha. Welcome to the Metro News, lifeline of your city. Under the ongoing Unlock 4.0, school, colleges and other educational institutes have been allowed to partially resume teaching operation for students of class 9 to 12 on a voluntary basis from September 21. In a statement, Health Minister Harshavardhan said that Government of India is following a phase-wise unlocking of activities. In days to come, this would also involve a partial resumption of activities in school for students of class 9 to 12 on a voluntary basis for taking guidance from their teachers. This would be allowed from 21st September 2020. As per the guidelines issued by the government, online learning will be allowed and encouraged, but the students of class 9 to 12 will be allowed to visit their school for taking guidance from their teachers. However, this will be subject to written consent from their parents. After over 5 months, schools are set to reopen in India after September 21, 2020. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare yesterday night released the COPs or standard operating procedures for school reopening in India. The 5-page document listed basic measures and specific guidelines to be followed for conducting classes for students. Among others, the SOPs have forbidden sports periods, assemblies, or opening of canteen on school premises. As per Unlock 4.0 guidelines released by the MHA, the schools would be allowed to open for 50% capacity for teaching and non-teaching staff. Also, students of classes 9-12 would be permitted to go to school strictly on voluntary basis. Here are some SOPs and general guidelines regarding reopening of school. Only school outside the contaminated zones allowed to open after the September 21. Students, teachers and staff from contaminated zone will not be allowed to attend the schools. Students and teachers to be advised not to visit contaminated zones while attending schools. Schools that were used as quarantine centers during the lockdown have to be properly sanitized and deep cleaned as per as the SOPs released by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Generic preventive measures like physical distancing, mandatory use of face masks, covers, frequent hand wash and self-monitoring of health, reporting of any illness to be followed. Respiratory etiquette to be strictly followed. This involves strict practice of covering one's mouth and nose while coughing, sneezing with tissue, handkerchief, sleeve, elbow, and disposing of used tissues properly. Splitting to be strictly prohibited. Installation and use of Arogya Setu app may be advised to encourage wherever feasible. The guidelines also suggest conducting classes in open space with the school campus, weather permitting. For air conditioning ventilation, the guidelines of CPWD shall be followed, which emphasize that the temperature setting for all air-conditioned devices should be in the range of 24 to 30 degrees Celsius. Relatively humidity should be in the range of 40 to 70%. Intake of fresh air should be as much as possible and cross ventilation should be adequate. Prior to resumption of activities, all work areas intended for teaching, demonstration, etc., including laboratories, other common utilities areas shall be sanitized with 1% sodium hypochlorite solution with particular attention to frequently touch surface. Mandatory hand hygiene, sanitizing dispensary and thermal screening provisions to be made at the center. School also advised to provide multiple gates, separate gates for entry and exit if feasible. Strict regulation of visitors to the school has been maintained and followed. Symptoms person, teachers, staff, students would not be allowed inside the school and would be referred to the nearest health center. Sitting arrangement to ensure a distance of 6 feet between chairs, desks, etc. Staging of guidance activities to be done with separate timing slots to allow for adequate physical distancing and disinfection of classroom premises. The teaching faculty will ensure that they themselves and students wear masks throughout the conduct of the teaching guidance activities. Sharing of items like notebooks, pen, pencil, erasers, water bottle, etc. among students should be not allowed. Activities in common areas would have to conduct while maintaining proper distancing. Activities like assemblies, sports activities that can lead to overcrowding would not be permitted for the time being. Also, swimming pool, wherever applicable, school cafes, canteen would remain closed. Apart from these guidelines, the SOPs also list out the procedure that has to be followed in case a student or teacher staff becomes symptomatic in the schools. The school also have been instructed to arrange for enough personal protective measures like masks and gloves, sanitizers, etc., as well as alcohol wipes or 1% sodium hypochlorite solution and disposable paper towels, etc. It is important to again point out that schools are not being reopened for regular classes. Students can go to their schools to clear doubts or for practical classes lessons. This is strictly voluntary and not mandatory. Schools cannot force the students to attend classes. Also, persons at high risk have been advised to take extra precautions.